What's up, everybody? Jackson Fuller here, along with Tanner Barth from WWAY for our Week 3 high school football preview. It's March 10th. We're finally getting into, I think we're starting to learn a little bit more about these teams after most of our local teams have played 2 games. 2 teams that haven't, Tanner, are South Brunswick and North Brunswick. And they got on the field last night in Leland. We were both at that game. South Brunswick came away with a 7-0 victory. First off, before we dive into Week 3, Tanner, what did you learn the most about, from either side, from South Brunswick, North Brunswick last night?
I think, Jackson, you kind of touched on it just a little bit is, early in the season, generally defenses are going to come out and play a little bit better than your offenses. And we saw that from a couple of other games in the Mideastern Conference, earlier this season. And we saw that exactly last night. Both of these teams came out, struggled to move the ball at times, but the defenses played well. They were able to make some great open field tackles and, some sacks. And ultimately, it was the South Brunswick Cougars forcing a turnover that led to a wild Danny Parker touchdown on what could have been another turnover for, South Brunswick falls right in his hands. But, exciting game, hard-nosed hitting game between 2 rivals. So it was good to be in Leland last night.
Yeah, I think turnovers are something that's really stuck out with me so far through this early spring COVID season. Last night, South Brunswick forces a turnover deep in North Brunswick territory, and that ended up being the difference. Danny Parker falls on a ball that could have easily been a South Brunswick turnover, turns it into a touchdown, and they limit their turnovers. New Hanover Topsail last week, the Pirates forced 5 turnovers, and that was a huge difference maker for Topsail, beating New Hanover for the first time in school history. Okay, so let's jump into Week 3. Huge game over at Shipyard on Friday night. West Brunswick at Hoggard. Both teams are 2-0. West Brunswick won last year 14-7. It was their first win over Hoggard since 1997. Long time coming. Talking to Coach Hickman, he knows pretty much everything about the West Brunswick football program. He said they've never won at Scott Braswell Stadium. So I'm going to set the line. We're going to pretend we're the Las Vegas bookies. This is what we do every week, setting the lines for our local high school football games. I'm going to set it at Hoggard minus 2.5. And that's really, I give them the edge because they're at home. And I like the way that Gabe Johnson and the Hoggard offense has looked so far through 2 weeks. But there's not much confidence in 2.5 point spread. Anything can happen in this one. Tanner, what say you?
Well, I'm going to switch it up and go a little bit on the other side of things. I'm actually going to go Hoggard plus 5.5. I think, playing at their home stadium, I think you give them that 2.5 points. I think that's something that automatically you look at on paper and say, you got a team that's historically really good at home, and you give them that 2.5 to 3 points. And then I add the extra 4 just because due to the fact that, I think this Hoggard team is going to be the ultimate test for West Brunswick because it's 2 teams that are very good defensively, but it's going to be what offense can, make the most difference. And there's so many playmakers for both, Hoggard and West Brunswick. So it's going to come down to maybe one play that makes a big difference, whether it's a turnover or, a long touchdown from guys like Monzel Campbell or Gabe Johnson. But I'm going to set it at 5.5 right now, kind of stick them where I'm at. That could change, but that's where I'm at right now.
That's a 1-possession game. And, last year was very close. Both defenses are really good. I think they're elite defenses, not only in the conference, but across the state. And West Brunswick won last year. I think they had 2 trick plays that really sparked the offense. So I am really looking forward to seeing Monzel Campbell over at West Brunswick. Haven't gotten to see him yet this year. Coach Hickman or someone at West Brunswick came up with the nickname Johnny Monzel. He's the quarterback now, so they're looking forward to see him. He's a transfer this year that has brought an explosive juice to the West Brunswick offense. So that should be a good one. I know we're going to talk a little bit about that. At least I am later on in this video. So let's move on to Laney at New Hanover. Both teams had very high aspirations coming into the year, but they're 0-2. New Hanover won last year 34-7 over Laney. Both teams are a lot different this year. Laney has a new coach. New Hanover's got so many new names all over the field. This one was really tough for me. I had liked New Hanover a lot coming into the season, and, they lose by 1 possession to Hoggard. They turn the ball over 5 times and lose a close one to Topsail. It feels like they could have easily won both games, but they haven't. I'm going to set this one at New Hanover minus 4.5. I think this one has a chance to be a really close game, but I think the Wildcats at home And, the offense found its life last week behind Graz Chandler. I bet they continue to get better as the year goes on. Tanner, what's your line for this one?
I went 6 New Hanover. New Hanover -6, just because I agree with you. Playing at Legion Stadium and having a chance to come out behind that big running back, and Raz Chandler coming off almost a 300-yard game. I think he'll run the football pretty well, but we want to see New Hanover evolve as an offense. Stop turning the football over, find a way to have an effective pass game. But I do think the Wildcats will come out with this one, but I think it'll be a sock out, punch out type of game where it can come down to the wire. So I'm going to go New Hanover -6 to pull it out on their home field.
Yeah, and Aaliyah Mappler and Ty Little, 2 sophomore quarterbacks starting this year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if 2 years from now they're battling for a conference championship. New Hanover will be a 4A school by then, so it would have a lot of playoff implications. Right now, both sophomores are that you can kind of see that they're young quarterbacks right now, which they're sophomores being thrown into the fire. No shame on them. It'll be interesting to see how both of them kind of respond to an 0-2 start to their careers. So,
Absolutely.
North Brunswick at Ashley will be the next one we talk about. That's on Saturday. North Brunswick won last year 57-7. The Screaming Eagles are 0-2. The Scorpions are 0-1. Someone's going to get their first win of the year, like the Laney New Hanover game. I've got North Brunswick favored by 8.5. Kind of a weird number. I don't know why. 7.5 didn't feel right. 9.5 felt like too much. The Scorpions showed last year they can they could turn this matchup into a blowout. They don't have as many playmakers as they do last year, and I think Ashley's a little better, but I still favor North Brunswick in this one. What do you got, Tanner?
Yeah, I went 7.5 North because I completely agree with you. I think Ashley is much improved, and I think North lacks the playmakers that they had, not only but the last couple of years to make this, kind of into a track meet ball. Don't get me wrong, there's no doubt they're still there, but I think 7.5 North right now, going on the road, be a close game. Be surprised if Screaming Eagles don't find a way to pull out a victory one of these weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't this week against North Brunswick.
Especially with how low scoring these games have been. I mean, if it's 14, if it's 7-0 in the fourth quarter, Ashley's right in it, and we'll see. I was surprised last year how big that win for North Brunswick ended up being. But that was just one of the games where the North Brunswick weapons kind of ran wild. So South Brunswick at Topsail Saturday. Hey, the Cougars are 1-0. The Pirates are 2-0. It's a big MEC 3A game. It was close last year. Topsail won 17-0. The defenses are, going to be the question marks for me on both of them. Is South Brunswick's defense as good as we saw Friday night against North Brunswick? Can Topsail's defense bounce back? They forced 5 turnovers, but still gave up 42 points against New Hanover. I'm going to say Topsail -10.5. I mean, scoring 54 points against New Hanover was so impressive in Hampstead. Gavin Ellis has really, shined at quarterback. The Pirates have it rolling right now. I'm going to say Topsail 10.5. But, with that, I'd like to say a caveat. If I just mentioned about the defenses, if South Brunswick's defense comes out and limits, Topsail to 7 points in the first 3 quarters, the Cougars have every opportunity to win this game.
We're on the same wavelength, I think, Jackson, but especially this week. I went Topsail 10, -10. I think, you mentioned everything right there. What I want to see from South Brunswick and, his ability to move the football. The one time they scored a touchdown was because they got great field position. So I want to see that offense kind of take the next step and them also be able to throw the football with, Roman Delgard and, his talented targets that he has on the outside. So I want to see that. Topsail, they've proved everything so far, so it's hard to go against the Pirates after, I believe the last couple of spreads we thought, I don't know historically if they have a shot. Well, they proved us wrong so far. So I'll go 10 with the Pirates and think they have a pretty good shot to start the season 3-0 and, maybe get our eyes focused a little bit on what could be a pretty big matchup down the road coming up with, schools like Hoggard and West Brunswick.
Yeah, and I will say, the South Brunswick offense last night, Roman Dilgard, he was efficient throwing the football. Danny Parker and Bender Sanderson did a good job running it for 3-4 yards. There just wasn't enough big plays, and some penalties got in the way. I think first game jitters for them, and they're not jitters, but just rustiness. But one thing to note too, it's a short week for South Brunswick, and Topsail will have an extra day off. So we'll see how that plays into it. Next, we've set the lines now. For anybody that's watched us the previous 2 weeks, you know what's coming next. If you haven't, we're going to do the biggest question that each of us have for week 3 of the high school football slate. I'll start first. Tanner, we've kind of touched on this, but my biggest question is, which offense has improved the most between West Brunswick and Hoggard from last year? I think, West Brunswick in particular, the defense was good enough to obviously make it a historic season. Hoggard's defense was very, very good, but the offense, the offense just wasn't there. And I think the offense, for Hoggard was so bad last year, it made life extra difficult on the defense, having to continuously come out and get stops. And I think that both teams have an opportunity to prove this week that this is better than last year. This is why we're serious contenders for the MEC championship. Whoever wins this game, it's not going to matter a whole lot for their playoff position because they're not in the same classification. But whoever wins this game has the inside track at an MEC conference title, especially Hoggard, who's already beaten New Hanover this year. Tanner, what's your big question coming into the week?
Well, what's crazy is mine was kind of on the flip side of that. You were talking about the offenses. I want to know about the defenses. I'm always a defensive guy. Which one of these defenses is the real deal? We've seen Hoggard come out and really hold their opponents. 13 the first week against New Hanover. 7 last week against Ashley. West Brunswick comes out. They give up 7 against Laney last week, 0 the week before. I had said they were going to do a shutout. What defense is going to show that they're the real deal and they're going to lead their team to victory? And, like you said, what could be one of the biggest wins of the year for their team if they can pull it out on Friday night?
Yeah, before we jump out of this one, I want to give a shout-out West Brunswick's Carter Wyatt. I think he's picked up about 4 offers in this week alone. Navy, Army, and Appalachian State right off the bat. I think he might have picked up one from Penn, too, recently.
He did, yep. You're right, yeah.
Congratulations to Carter. And then on the other side, Jackson King has had an absolutely tremendous start for his season with Hoggard. The 2 blocked punts against New Hanover and then a pick 6 last week. I think those 2 really might be 2 of the best defensive players in our area this year, and it's going to be fun watching them kind of –
ready for it.
Yeah, they're going to make some plays on Friday night over on Shipyard. Really can't wait for that game. And glad that we're going to have fans in there because I know last year West Brunswick's fans made a difference. That was one of the better crowds we've had all year. Won't be the same, number of fans over at Shipyard, but it'll be fun to have fans and students there for West Brunswick Hoggard. Finally, we're going to do one bold prediction for the week and then get out of here. I nailed my bold prediction last week of Brad over 150 yards. He had 298 by my statistics. And you got yours right too, right? You said there were going to be 3.
I got one of them right. Yeah, okay. One of my ones was that I wanted there would be at least 3 turnovers in New Hanover and Topsail. And like you said, I think there was probably 5 or so or something like that. And then the other one was that West Brunswick was going to post a shutout, keep the shutout streak alive. But they gave up 7 on me. So
yeah, and that was on
another day.
That was on the very first drive, I think. And then after
points,
so you almost had that one right too.
Yeah.
My prediction for this week is that the winner of the New Hanover Laney game is going to score 35 points or more. I think Mulaney offense has struggled this year to start. I wouldn't be surprised if they win. But I think whoever wins that game, the offense is going to have to, get up in that 35-point region because I think both of these offenses are poised to kind of break out the rest of the year and turn a corner. Obviously, New Hanover scored a lot last week against Topsail, but it was too sloppy to get the win. So 35 points is the bar I'm setting for the winner between New Hanover Topsail. Tanner, what's your bold prediction this week? Or New Hanover Laney?
My bold prediction is going to be that I think it will be a turnover in the 4th quarter that proves to be the difference in New Hanover, or excuse me, not New Hanover, in West Brunswick and Hoggard. I think that's it. We're going to see a turnover late in the 4th quarter that's going to give a team a chance, and they're going to punch it in and score. That's what I have. And also just to throw out as a little prop bet, if you like a little side bookie action, give me Raz Chandler over 200 once again for the New Hanover Wildcats.
See, I almost wanted to give another Raz Chandler prediction, but I have a hunch. I haven't talked to Coach Dimmick at all, but I have a hunch that New Hanover really wants to get their passing game going, and they're going to try and do that this week because it's clear Raz Chandler can run for 298 yards, and they still lost. They got to get a little bit more balance. But hey, that kid is a beast. He could break off 2 long 80-yard runs and be 40 yards away. So. Tanner, you want to give us your plug again? I know fifth quarter Friday night. What can people look out for you in WWAY this week?
Yeah, man, as you always say, fifth quarter Friday night, best high school football highlights and analysis the region has to offer. We'll bring it to you every Friday night from, all the way in New Hanover County out to Columbus, up to Pender and into Wallace. So you can check us out there. And then also on Twitter, you can follow me at Tanner_Barth. Bring you a lot of cool stuff there as well. So I appreciate all you guys joining us. Week 3, Jackson. After this one, we're already almost halfway through the regular season. So buckle up, my friend. Buckle up.
It's crazy. Last night at North Brunswick, someone in the press box said, like, well, we got 2 more home games after this. And I was like, this is
yeah.
Insane. Yeah. Follow along with me at StarNewsVarsity on Twitter and Facebook. This video is out Thursday morning, and Thursday morning we've got our preview on the West Brunswick Hogger game and a little look at that, how those programs kind of match up. So appreciate Tanner. Thank you for joining me as always. We'll see you next week, and thank you guys so much for watching. Everybody enjoy their Friday night of football this week, week 3 in southeastern North Carolina.